Good morning. Good morning. Peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. And today I was looking for a topic. I didn't have anything that I wanted to discuss last night. I normally have something prepared and then it just would premiere in the morning, but this is just fresh off the dome. And the title is Have We Stopped Valuing the Wisdom of Our Elders? And that just takes me back to when I was a child and growing up, and I just remember, our elders would give us information, give us. We were more subjective to what the older generation would of people would have to say, and even though we might not agree, we would still respect and appreciate the gift of wisdom from a from an elder. You know, so much so that the respect level would be, we wouldn't talk back. We would just give them that respect while they were giving us that wisdom from their experience because they've been there before. We had a concept as children of the elder, the elder statesman or the elder stateswoman, and just giving elders that respect. I mean, we might have been children outside playing, hide and go seek or riding our bikes or playing basketball in the alley on the crates. Remember the milk crates? We used to be outside, and any elder in the community, another parent or, you know, any adult, if they saw us doing something that uh, was not right, we didn't even have to know who they were. But if they were an adult, we just innately knew to give them that respect, you know, and they'll they'll come and hey, I'm gonna tell your mama or your daddy or you know, and we gave them that right. If we were teenagers and we were on the bus, we wouldn't, just blatantly curse or act belligerent in front of adults. We if we was doing anything, we would have to sneak and do it because we knew we had respect for our elders. This new generation, they lost respect for the elders. When we were coming up, like I said, another adult that wasn't our parent or guardian could approach us and chastise us on sight. We wouldn't buck back at them. You know, we'd just take take the information. If we didn't agree with it, we'll wait till they leave and be like, "Man, I ain't listening to that," you know, or whatever. But this generation, it's like they want to get buck and um, try to challenge adults, and I think we lost that. And what prompted we lost our way with that. What prompted this conversation is Felicia Rashad went on the Breakfast Club and did an interview, with Charlemagne and DJ Envy and all of them. And she made some comments about the young women of today. And, she's an elder. If you don't know who Felicia Rashad is, you might know who she was from The Cosby Show. You know, she played Mrs. Huxtable, Cliff Huxtable's wife, and she was a mother, and she was very classy, very respectable. And that's another thing. The images on television have changed, and I think that has a lot to do with the lack of respect for the elders, a lack of respect for us, for ourselves, for our community, and for our society. You know, we had televisions like Miss Felicia Rashad was on the Cosby Show that showed, you know, two successful, you know, parents that raised their children to be respectful. You know, we had better representation with shows like the Cosby Show, Family Matters, you know, Living Single. I mean, even Martin, you know, it was more censorship. You know, shows we grew up watching just showed us in a better light. The movies, you know, showed us in a better light. We had some ratchet stuff, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, children wasn't exposed to so much ratchetness like they are today. Now, children are absorbed with the likes of reality television shows, women half naked, men acting belligerent, arguing, fighting with each other. I don't even think they have any family orientated shows like the Cosby Show these days. So the music these days is, man, sorry, bless me, I had to sneeze, but everything is ratchetness these days. You know, there's no really good, solid examples of civility in these television shows, and uh, this music, you know, these movies. So I think that in our society and our culture has contributed to the degeneracy of our youth. Well, why should I respect my elders when I look on television and grown men and women are not respecting themselves, you know, acting ratchet and I mean turning up. I mean with social media and the internet, it's a gift and a curse. Yeah, it's a angel and a demon in the world wide web. Gift and a curse is we have unlimited access to information, but we also have for our children unlimited access to degeneracy. And, you know, depending on what an individual gravitates to will reflect in their behavior, in their moral compass, you know. So I think that we need to get back to some of that. Because Felicia Rashad, getting back to my point, she basically said they asked her a question about today's generation of women. And I gotta be honest, before I get to what she actually said, not verbatim, but you know, women of yesterday, of yesteryear, you often hear they don't make them like they used to. You often hear when it goes swing, the door swings both ways. You hear people say they don't make men like they used to. Um, that used to. What was that? That was integrity. That was, you know, a man or woman of substance, of high moral compass. You know, a woman that or a man that you could look at as a positive example for the generations coming up up under them. You know, and I think that that speaks volumes to where we have gone in society and what we celebrate as it pertains to our representation in society, the music, the television shows. But yeah, so without further ado, they asked her a question about the women of today. She said, you know, they're beautiful, they're young queens, but you know, being that they are queens and beautiful and all of that, I just don't like the way that they represent themselves as, you know, with the ratchetness and how they dress, you know, half naked. Young lady, you know, you're a queen. Why would you be out here, you know, soliciting yourself and presenting yourself to be half naked when you dress and go in public? You know, don't no man want a wife that presents themselves in that manner, you know? And she, like I said, is a positive example of an elder with so many accomplishments and presented herself with so much class. Felicia Rashad never was out here misrepresenting herself. She was always a symbol of style and grace, and it was very, it still is a very beautiful, intelligent woman, even in her 70s. And just on the strength of who she is, even if you didn't agree with what she had to say, which I agree wholeheartedly in what she said, because it's true. You know, a woman shouldn't be out here with all they goods showing for anybody to see. Now, people, young women have came out. A lot of them have took to social media and like, man, I'm tired of these old women coming out here telling us what we should do and having all this judgment on us and talking about every time an old woman coming out here, they talking about what a man don't like. Some of us don't even like men. And who cares what a man think? That we different. We a new generation. All them old 19, whatever, 50, 60 man state. We don't subscribe to that. Sit your old self down somewhere. You don't know what's going on and this and that and yada, yada, yada. Have we stopped valuing the wisdom of our elders? What was wrong with her telling you, you beautiful, you know, you a queen? She just trying to fix your crown, queen, because it's hanging, it's tilted on your head. She's trying to fix your crown. And instead of taking what she said, you chose to get offended by the wisdom of an elder. And to me, you know, that speaks volumes being in itself. It's like I said, when I was coming up as a child, I value the wisdom of my grandmother, of my grandfather, of my uncle, of, you know, my neighbor that was an adult or older than me, because they've been there and they done that, you know. So, and also to say that we don't care what men think because we doing our own thing speaks volumes in itself as well. Because notice, she said a man doesn't want his wife or his woman to be out there exposing all of their goodies to the whole world. Now, the objective is to become a wife and a mother if you're a woman, I would think. So if you're not trying to do that, then that also speaks volume to where we are as a society. Because, hey, you don't want people to judge you. People, the most false statement is we're not supposed to judge. Every time you walk outside your door, you're supposed to make a sound judgment. If you walking down the street, you should be judging your surroundings. If you see 3 cats with hoodies on in a dark alley and you by yourself and you got an option to go the other way, you got to place judgment at that moment to go the other way to avoid any confrontation. Not to say that nothing would happen. Maybe they just chilling. But why would you walk into a potential dangerous situation if you don't have to? Why would you present yourself as one would consider, as they say, a thought when you don't have to? Do you want to be perceived that way? I just think it's sad where we're headed, because with all this wokeness and we do what we want to do when we want to do it. There's no laws. There's no moral compass. At one point, young women and young men wanted to be looked upon as someone of high value, of someone with a high moral compass. We have to value being represented correctly. But degeneracy in our society has created a mindset that would not value the wisdom of an elder. When you think about that, if you don't, one thing about the elders, I don't agree with everything they say, because this is a different time. And some of the stuff applies and some of it doesn't. But one thing I will not do is not ever listen. I'm going to always listen. And I can take bits and pieces. When you eat a fish, you discard the bones, but you keep the meat. You keep the substance of what that conversation or what that information entails. Because you can learn from everything, regardless if you agree with anything. But hey, that's my time. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. Um, let's start back valuing our elders and their wisdom. Even you don't have to agree, but don't disrespect. You know, and I think we'll get much further if we don't know where we been. We don't know where we came from. We won't know where we going. So we definitely need that leadership. We need that wisdom, so we can be on the right track and where we going. But yep, once again, man, it's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. We love y'all. Peace and blessings. Until next time, we'll see you soon. All right. Love.